Thank you for for joining me again for this next part of the video lecture series. I'm going to talk about shared storage for just a minute. In our labs, we're going to do this using NFS on our domain controller. Basically, using the domain controller as a as a NAS. As I mentioned in class the other day. The real difference between a NAS and a SAN is that the NAS is a device. A SAN is a network devoted to storage. So the NAS could be an appliance or a server, but it is a single object, either virtualized in this case, or physical, as in say a Synology box, or basically a hard drive with an embedded operating system and a network card attached to it. Anyway, so we're going to talk briefly about implementing shared storage. In order to keep now, one of the things that we are one of our goals with these virtualized data centers, with large virtualization implementations, either in a virtualized data center or a data center that's being well, not fully a physical data center, which may be supporting one or more virtual data centers. There's a really good chance that you've got VMs that you'll need to keep moving, even while you may need to bring a specific piece of hardware down for maintenance. Say a RAID array dies, or it starts giving seg fault, memory errors of some kind, seg faults, or some indication that, oh, I don't know, a NIC is starting to die. In any case, you need to have some common location, particularly unless you're doing a shared nothing vMotion. You need to have some common location where all this stuff lives. You can do that either with a NAS or with a SAN. We're going to take the simple option and use a NAS. Using a Windows 2016 server, which happens to be our DC, as a NAS as well, using NFS. We're also going to talk about iSCSI, so you could do it that way. But for the moment, we're going to use this shared location on the server and use it as basically an NFS export. So everything you remember from the Linux course about NFS is still basically happening under the hood. For all intents and purposes, by creating that directory and doing NFS sharing on it, rather than standard SMB sharing, you create, for all intents and purposes, an NFS export. It would be interesting to point a Kali or some kind of vulnerability assessment or port scanner at this thing and see if the NFS ports are now open. Now, granted, I would have to take the Windows firewall down first, because the Windows firewall is remarkably good at blocking casual Nmap scans. So what we're going to do, this is activity 6.1 is turning your Windows server into a NAS. And then the next thing you have to do is to point your ESXi hosts at that, so they know they have a common location. So what you'll actually end up with is a couple of ESXi hosts with a local data store and a common external data store that they can use to shift traffic around. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is your vCenter server, and I'm also going to demo creating that. I have an old video from a previous time I did that, but that was kind of more of an experiment when I was doing it. So I will build a new one. I've actually had to rebuild my ESXi hosts along the way. And now I've shown that in a set of demos as well. The key takeaway there is that you should be doing this on a WinNT system. If you're doing this on a Windows NT system, make sure it's Windows 10. If you're using a web browser to talk to your vSphere or vCenter devices, use Chrome. Firefox is slow. Chrome is much, much more responsive. So thanks, and we'll be right back.